Okay, good morning. So I just wanted to announce that Big Country Football, I was able to, much of yesterday, much of last night, and very early this morning, I got up at 3:30. I was able to finish Big Country Football NFL 1985 set. So the only historical season I have done for Big Country Football is the 1985 season, and I'm going to drop it in my Google Drive folder. There is a link in the description box to go grab it. It is called BCF NFL 1985. So let's do it. I'm going to drop it right here for everybody to see. And bam, there is the first historical season for Big Country Football done. What was I going to say? There was something else. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. So, Big Country Football 1985. There it is. Let's double click on it, take a look at it. So first, I give a little write-up, a little bit about my personal history and my background, and why I love 1980s football, but why the 85 season is remarkable to me. So I have a little letter there to share with everybody. And then every team, so unlike, I described this in an email to a friend this morning, I use players' names in Big Country Football's fictional league because I want people who choose to play it as a fantasy game. Since those teams are completely fictional, I used fictional player names, again, to create a level of intimacy between the player, the solo player, and the league, so they can get to know players and teams and personalities. But obviously, BCF is an abstract football game, so the historical teams will just be units, rated units, and the rated unit, you can decide who throws the touchdown pass, who this halfback is, fullback, etc. So these are basically the key units, and then the defensive units. So this is the entire defensive line unit, linebacking unit, DB unit, right? This is your interception return of 12. A star means they can return one for a touchdown. If they do not have an asterisk, they cannot return a kick or punt for a touchdown. PT is the punter average. Place kicking is his chance to hit a PAT on the D20, his chance to hit a field goal. This is modified by range. And again, remember, offensive units modify only the defensive D20 column probabilities. They don't modify yardage. They don't modify the actual offensive play call. They only modify the number on the defensive column to change the probabilities of being tripped up, or of an incomplete pass, or of an interception. Okay, so remember, these only modify the defensive number, not the defensive die, and they do not they never modify the offensive play call. The defensive numbers modify the offensive play call. So the very first roll, if it highlights a DL, then you'll move that number down one, and then you ignore the defensive unit on that new number and read it across for the result. If there is a defensive number, like 12, you would modify it by the appropriate player involved on offense, and that would move that number down one. If it was a run and he could be tripped up 7+, you move that down to a 6. If the defensive die says 8, the halfback's tripped up, he only gets the second yardage result. So it's going to take a minute to remember that these numbers only modify certain things, and that this is easier. If it says DL on the offensive play, that means he modifies down one. Linebackers modify down 2. If it has no designation of a unit, you take the play as rolled. Okay, so that's how these work. So again, these offensive players modify the defensive probabilities. The defensive players or units modify the offensive play call, the automated play call. Very simple. Punts are always 41 yards for this guy. You only roll a D20 to see if there's a block. That's it. Kick return from the goal line is always measured out to the 23. You'll make a roll for a fumble. There is no chance of a kick return, but you always make a roll for a fumble. So this uses the team's historical averages for the entire year. I've talked about this before, and I will not budge on how I feel about using for teams in your games and in your season replays, using their averages and then modify that by a touchdown or a field goal, because I'm a firm believer that special teams in the end always washes out to averages. So take it or leave it. But that's my hard and fast adherence to the hidden game of football's idea of how the game of football really does play out, including interception returns. So all interception returns occur from the line of scrimmage. You don't worry about how far downfield. Automatically, interception returns for this team go back from the line of scrimmage 12 yards. You make a roll to see if he fumbles it or returns it for a touchdown. That's it. We move on. So Denver picks it off, and it's at the 18. They return it back 12 to the offense's 6. We go ahead and make a roll to see if he fumbles it or takes it into the house for a touchdown. Very simple, very fast. Take it or leave it. It is an abstract version of football, but it will simulate an entire game of football. So let's take a look at the Raiders. The Raiders were a 12-4 team. They won the division. I was going to go put them in alphabetical order, and then I just realized I'm just going to do it by division standings. But I'd already started Denver, so I finished Denver. So so in this document, the Broncos and the Raiders are out of order because I started with alphabetical order in the West. So you'll see it seems weird. The 12-4 Raiders are below the. But the Raiders, of course, poor quarterback play, great MVP running back. Fullback didn't get much or do much. Remember, this is going to affect overall play when a fullback's number comes up. So you'll have to abstractly get your head around the fact that a fullback might rip off a big run, and maybe that team didn't have one. But who's in the fullback position when that occurs is up to you. So Marcus Allen might be on the field in the fullback position. So if a fullback breaks off a big run for the Raiders, I might assume that's Marcus Allen in at fullback position, and another halfback is in the H-back position. So again, these are units, are positions on the field. So there's multiple receivers that can line up in the split end position. It's up to you to decide when you write down your box scores or your stats, if you're recording stats and you want to allocate attempts, runs, etc. to players, just use a player allocation number. I'm not going to do that. I like to use my imagination. When something occurs, I like to imagine, well, that must have been Marcus Allen on a catch from the halfback long, right? Because Marcus Allen caught a lot of long passes. So, but feel free, for those of you out there who already have a player allocator chart, use it. It would work with this because this uses every snap of the game. Raiders have a good defense. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're a -4 total defense, so their defensive line is their strongest point here. Howie Long, Greg Townsend, Bill Pickel, Lau Lauzato, etc., etc. Their linebackers were solid with Rod Martin and Matt Millen, and their DBs with Mike Haynes and Lester Hayes. You would think they should be better, but this is how good they rate out. They had 3 interception returns for touchdowns as a unit. They did not score on kick or punt returns, and their punter was average. You're going to find the averages are right on, right, for football of 1985. I'm not going to share any more of the document. I'm going to let people go through and see their favorite teams and go through and see what the Chicago Bears look like, etc. Anyway, this is dropped. It is done. Now, Big Country Football, you can use the Big Country Football chart and rules to play historic 1985 NFL if you so choose. Of course, you can also use the generic fictional cities and teams and players that came with the game. All of this free of charge. Just go to the thing, look for BCF for any reference to the Big Country Football. Grab that PDF, download it. It's free. Have fun. I hope you enjoy it. Good day.